All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Not Another Fucking Podcast. Today we have Jase Long, better known as Jase345.
It's easier that way.
It is. Jase _ 345, I think. But he's one of the top coaches in the UK. Specializes, I would say, mainly in men's physique, wellness, classes like that. But also has prepped, big dudes, classic guys, pros, some proper big boy bodybuilders as well. The Bikini girls, everything sort of in between. You have your niche, but you do everything else as well, just as well, I would say. So I've known Jase for a long time. I think absolutely years now, really.
Probably one of the first coaches I met in person. I remember.
I think so. Yeah. Years ago. PCA in Wales. I think we met a long time ago.
You prep
Ross. It was Ross that was when we first.
Yeah, and you prep Marlon's friend. I can't remember his name. The white guy. I can't remember his name. It's talking about.
Tom Price.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
That was about 8 years ago or 7 years.
It's a while ago. It's a long time ago. Yeah. So probably 2018. I want to say is what.
Yeah. No, I think it was 17.
Even further back.
Yeah.
Long stretch ago, but we've been in the game for some time, haven't you? But go ahead, just introduce yourself briefly. I mean,
So yeah, obviously Jase definitely delved heavily into wellness and men's physique. It's where I got a huge passion for the classes. Got a few bodybuilders there that I was a big bodybuilder myself when I was competing as well. So use that experience for them. And obviously our brand's a bit different to a lot of the other coaching brands because we got a lot of lifestyle clients just because we got like a bit of a team. Like people think when they look, we're actually 50% lifestyle, but our comp numbers are obviously quite solid as well because we had quite a few pro cards last year, which was good. But yeah, that's pretty much me. I like to coach any level, but my main quality and speciality, I would say, is really having an eye for the men's physique class and the wellness class. And obviously, I'm a coach that's honest. There's classes which I can prep for, but I always say there's better coaches out there for, and that's why I just try and stick to what I feel I'm good at. But yeah, exciting years coming ahead. We've got some big athletes competing, which is cool. Less athletes competing last year, so it's even more meaningful to make sure everyone gets the results they need.
I'd say
last year I was quieter than I anticipated. I did well with a few people, but I think I got 2 cards. But the year before I'd done 4, but this year was absolutely stuck to the 9s. So I think it's just year on year, it will change, won't it? Based on
Yeah, because if you have the year before you had loads of people, all them people essentially now go into an off season. I think it's always going to be like busy year, quiet year, busy year, quiet year. Like we're probably putting 50% less on. Like this time last year, first weekend, I had like 8 people. I've not got 8 people for the first 6 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've got lots leaning in towards like PCA Universe qualifier. Once younger guys and sort of a few ladies.
It's quite nice though because I feel like as a coach you need that refreshment because as you know with your son and stuff, it's hard being on the road all the time as well. So I'm actually quite grateful that it's a bit of a quieter year anyway because I was doing my calendar. I was like, all right, I think last year I did 31 shows and this year there's about 15. All right, at least I can get
a nice change, isn't it? A bit of...
Yeah, and especially because I'm doing a few internationals. Like as much as they're fun, it still takes it out of
a lot of time. Yeah.
Keeping, as Tom knows, if you're at a show weekend, you're now trying to keep the service up for your other clients as well. And you don't really get a break. Like you get back and you're doing replies at 10, 11. So it's quite nice for me to have that sort of flex. Like I think most the months this year, it's like I'm at 1 or 2 shows. I'm like, oh, right, that's good.
I think it sort of goes in cycles as you become like a bigger name as well, because you're retaining people like top athletes for a longer period. So you're probably having less people coming in for shows each year with just new people that want to do a show. And
I think
a bunch of shows one year, then off seasons, and then shows again.
Yeah, and it just makes your job easier as a coach because I just know what stage weight they need to get to because I've got that experience and I can navigate that prep either. But yeah, we've got quite a good, like a lot of our clients will stay for a long time. So obviously a lot of them do go into off season, then it's like busy, quiet, which is obviously quite good for us.
How did you actually end up getting into coaching? Obviously, you've built quite a big name into the coaching industry now and and quite a big name when you were competing as well. Like, what got you into bodybuilding and coaching?
I was shadowing a friend, LRF, at the time. He was like the go-to coach. I think Eddie Abu was coaching as well, and I was just attending shows, watching. Don't bring up Eddie Abu, big Eddie Abu causing controversy. That's the
Eddie Abu's plans.
But yeah, and it's like you used to get them on paper, and it was like 50 quid a month or something. But I just literally, genuinely, how I fell into bodybuilding. I wasn't interested in bodybuilding whatsoever. I was on Instagram, and I didn't know LRF. I just saw someone had tagged Marlon actually in a transformation where he went from men's physique to classic.
Yeah.
I was literally at home, and I was like, I can do that. And then I messaged Rob, and if any of us know Rob, he's a bit of hard work. I remember I messaged him, and he was like, well, if you can get to my gym tomorrow at 10 a.m., I'll give you the time of day. And mate, it was like Boxing Day. And I remember I went, and then I just like did my first prep. And then because I was around it, you know, we got into a space. I think luckily 1 year LRF was just like, 1 year he woke up and he kicked every male off his team. He's like, he's only prepping females. So obviously that left a bit of a gap where some of the males came to me. And I feel like that's where I got my breakthrough. And that was just him navigating to what I said earlier. And I think that's where I've got it from, is navigating to where I feel I'm better. You know what I mean? Like I've got one figure athlete, because I'm like, you're genetically insane. And Tom knows I get a lot of genetically insane people. But apart from that, I play to my strengths. Like I'm not a coach that's trying to help the world. I think I've got three.
We've joked about your clientele just being like, cool, just that's it. Afraid.
Yeah,
Definitely seen that. I definitely see.
Yeah, so I've got the genetic pull on my side, so now it helps. But this genetic freak's Caucasian, so we can't go with it.
Ain't changing the game.
So no, but I'm quite lucky. So like, yeah, I think where Rob did that, it always just taught me like, just stick to what you're good at. And even like last year, I had some bikini girls come like 3rd or 4th, and I was just like, oh, that's not really the standard for me. Or I wasn't sure how I could nudge them to 1st, because I was like, fuck, we done everything. Do you know what I mean? So eventually, if they, you know, I had a girl that did well in figure, got like top 6 at the British, and in my head, I was like, I don't think I could have notched her up any places. And I'm always quite honest with that as well. Because I've always been like,
ultimately, I think sometimes that's a really good, like, it's a good thing to admit as well. It's very hard to say that, but sometimes you look at someone and go, I don't think I've got the eye for what's going on here. I think you need to go to somewhere else. If I had like a bikini competitor who was in IFBB and I just couldn't really get them.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm probably going to go, and do you know what? I probably should have done this. You know, when I worked with Sanaya, and she IFBB, what I probably should have done then is maybe said to her, like, look, I've got you PCA stuff, I've got you tone figure stuff, I've got you PCA bikini stuff. IFBB bikini, you might need to go elsewhere. And why don't you go have a chat with Callan? Why don't you go have a chat with Kale? Why don't you go have a chat with someone like that and just see if they can kind of push you in the right direction? That's probably what I should have done at that point, but that was a few years ago now. So
yeah,
part of what makes like a good coach in kind of as you get further into the process is identifying where is your niche, what are you really good at, and what's playing to your strengths.
What's your strengths? And I think that's why we got a big lifestyle brand, because, like, if I'm honest, entry-level men's physique and lifestyle coaching, it's very similar. So that's obviously just navigated. People see that and they want that. So we was like, oh, we'll just stay there.
Men's physiques in general, for a person who's getting into training, are aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, it's
only available. And then people who get into blokes who get into, I just want to be in decent shape. I'm not too fat. I'm a bit of muscle. I'm relatively trim, but I just want to look closer to that.
Yeah, and I think
they sound that they help you out, like.
Yeah, I think it's that as well. So no, that does help. But yeah, I was just very early on. I was like even this year, I did say to myself, like, my current females, I'll keep them. But I think from next year, after this season, any new females, I'll just solely coach males myself, and just really focus on that. Because, you know, female preppers, you know, Tom, at 1 year you had a lot of females, and that's kind of reversed. It's very specialist prep, and I feel like nowadays, with more hormonal issues, more PCOS coming out, I would rather be honest and I understand Hashimoto's and PCOS to that level, but I feel like it's a very specialist prep, and I just feel like someone better for that. I wouldn't want to put someone's health in jeopardy.
I think, yeah, and it's just a niche thing, isn't it? Really, as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could, if we got someone gifted enough, and if any of us got someone gifted enough, we could easily get them towards Olympia level, pro qualifier level. We could do it as long as they're genetically blessed enough. But spending 5, 6, 7 years with someone with mid-level genetics to try and get them a credit card, I think a lot of navigating is needed in that sort of.
So I've got one or two girls like that need a lot of attention, and I'm like, sweet. But obviously, as a coach, I'm very aware how much I can divide that attention. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's some clients that will need a lot more specifics, and some clients where they need less specifics, if that makes sense. And I feel like with the men's physique lads I've got, it's all like everyone's sweet, everyone gets on. It's like very like everyone's just like, let's get to it. Do you know what I mean? And it's a pretty straightforward process.
Yeah, that's good. So, Dan, what questions have we got for Jase today? I believe we have a few.
Yeah, quite a lot on the business.
So what's the top three? Well, start with the best one that we've got. Let's start from the meeting.
I wanted to talk about kind of what are the main attributes that you think have made you such a successful coach in the industry, and you think what are things that you think people within the industry should be doing more of in order to become more successful?
I just think the biggest thing for me is in integrity in that essence, and like sticking to what you know and being integral in terms of like, I go on Instagram every day and 1 minute this coach is talking about this, 6 months later he's talking about something else, and people just keep changing their message of what they want to put out. Like, Tom's been a hardcore bodybuilding coach since I've known him, and that's not changing.
Yeah.
No. Whereas coaches are just like, they pivot one way because they think it's popular, then pivot another way, and then pivot one way, and pivot another way. And I've always been like, I'm just good at getting results, so I'm just going to post results.
I think, Jase, knowing you as well, and obviously, like you said about me previously, knowing you will say very straight how it can do it. There could be a different way. There could be a better way.
Yes, I'm going to do it.
All of these results, if you get a wicked black dude turn up with midsection, sick physique, sick shape, and you know for a fact that he's lazy, you're not going to start sitting there and working out the integrity, how his psychology works to get just
no. Yeah.
You cover the fucking miss-up, doesn't you?
And I feel like just that integrity, like I've never changed my method with the industry. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've been in this industry a long time, and the methods changed massively. 1 year, everyone was raving about GH. 1 year, everyone's raving about intra-carbs. 1 year, everyone's raving about reps in reserve. And I've just been like, well, this is the way I know, and I'm going to do it because I think it's worked for years. And essentially it all goes around in a circle. So I think just staying integral to your message, and obviously I know my strengths, you know what I mean? I don't speak about cycles and stuff online, or because I know if I do that, I'm now going to change the client base and probably get a few more, big bodybuilders and stuff. And I just want to stick to what I know, you know what I mean? And so I think just knowing, it's like Tom's not going to all of a sudden start talking about, the fit model class, because again,
probably not.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of coaches though that they'll talk about things they're not super. I only take a person on if I feel like I can actually get a result.
Yeah, I think that's,
and I think just staying integrity. Like, my thing is, can you get a result? Can you satisfy this client where they're putting their cash? And if I can't, I've got to sit back and say, sweet, I can't, do you know what I mean? And that's obviously got to be a chat. And sometimes I've got people that like 10 weeks out and I thought I could, and I'm like, do you know what? I think we need to revamp the plan, or there's someone better out here for you. And I actually had an inquiry of someone who inquired, and I think there's a better coach. And they was actually like, I really respect that.
Yeah, I definitely think that's important. I think as you start to get more popular within the industry, you start to realize that you need to focus on things that you're passionate about, because it brings out best in you. So like, if you don't like coaching people from, they like the ground up, people that are very like at the start of their journey, and if that doesn't interest you, then it's probably a good idea, instead of taking them on and not being interested, send them to somebody that is passionate.
Yeah, which is good. But yeah, it's weird because I actually like the ground up.
Yeah,
because I'm like, for me, it's like, even if it's just like someone that's done their first year competing and the next year they're challenging for a card, like being on that journey of them unlocking that belief. Like, I know, Tom, you've had someone you didn't think they'd be in the running in a pro qualifier, and they are, and then all of a sudden they've just come into this realm of confidence and belief.
Yes. that's cool, isn't it? I think that definitely sings about your sort of integrity and your, I would say, so your passion for just genuinely helping people out, but people who are worth your time and worth the effort for you put in there.
Yeah.
When you put that in, you put the time and the effort to someone, and then they give it back by actually doing everything that you said.
Yeah, it's just, you just get it.
It's better as well. Like,
yeah, you just get a bit more excited about the process, and I feel the biggest thing is, like I've always said, when I lose the excitement for competitors, I'll just tap out and I'll be happy tapping out. But you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of old school coaches that just prepping competitors and they don't give a shit about like bodybuilding, or like they're not in the loop of like they don't even know who's won Mr. Olympia. And I'm thinking, like, you just really don't know how the game is changing. Do you know what I mean? And I think you always got to have an eye on the industry.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
You had quite a successful year last year in terms of client results. Probably best year in terms of like pro cards and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think anything changed in how you did things last year, or was it just intent? It was just you wanted to make a statement in that sort of side of things, and that's just...
You know what? I've got a few guys with good genetics on board, and I got a few athletes off other coaches, and I was like, fuck, I've got to do something with them. Do you know? Like, I've really got to do something here, because the biggest pressure for me is if I get someone from another coach, I'm like,
you got to step it up.
We really can't under-deliver here, or the things I always, like, I ridicule myself quite heavy, and on socials, people won't know. I'm always like, oh, they're going to point the finger at me. Do you know what I mean? I'm always like, you're remembered on your, I always say, like, every show, Jase, you're remembered on your last result. And we had a winter wonderland season. I think it was just last year, it didn't plan to go that way, but I was just like, as a coach this year, I'm going to push people to a limit I haven't pushed them before. And luckily, they don't fold or bend, so you realize that bodybuilders are actually even more durable than you think. Because I think sometimes I was like a few percent back, because I was like, fucking hell, can't give him 50 grams of carbs a day. Whereas this year, I'm like, do it or don't do it. Do you know what I mean? And I think just having that confidence of ruthlessness, I think you have to build up to that. And what a lot of coaches do, they come in and starve guys from the off. But when you've coached for many years, many physiques, you're like, they can probably push a bit harder now. Do you know what I mean? They can probably push a bit harder. And I think I adopt that from my American clients, because when I took on a lot of Americans, I was like, fucking hell, like they're pushing everything hard. Like,
yeah.
And I was like, that made me look at myself and be like, have I been, even though we always got results and stuff like that, I was like, oh, is there a level harder up?
Yeah, I definitely felt like the same for me from 2023, 2024. I think the condition standard of the industry increased a lot just over the last couple of years. And, you know,
that's funny, but I think, I mean, Jase, you remember what first time you used to look like a NABA show, like 5, 6, 7, 8, well, maybe like 8, 9, 10 years ago. They were just, you know, like they still look 4 or 5 weeks out by today's.
Yeah, the standards now is insane. Like, and
from first timers, beginners, novices point, nobody serious is turning up on stage without at least boxed off.
Like boxed off. Man, you know what's most incredible? The juniors are looking crazier every year.
Natural teens.
I had Luke Potter and you had Connor, and juniors, mate. Them two juniors, mate, they were in better condition than some men.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. There was other dudes on there, wasn't there? There's in that junior British lineup, it's starting to slowly. Don't get me wrong, there's odd freaks here and there, but do you remember the whole like Ruchet and Guy Harding, sort of thing? And then you had like Ryan Crowley when he was humped up a pack on one side, and then you had like Joe Cross. You had the black geese that you trade, the guy with the
Jay made,
Jay, was it like Jay Natty at one point still doing?
Bambastic as well was in that one.
I think Bambastic was really good as a junior too. So there, you know, we had those like 1 year or then 2 years where it was just like nutty, and then kind of have like breaks and stuff. But now it seems to be slowly coming back to.
Yeah, it's coming back. I feel like it sounds weird. I feel like bodybuilding is mainstream now, and I think C-Bum's made body and Sam Sulek bodybuilding mainstream. I think there was a time when we did it was cool. Then I feel like it kind of faded out. Like bodybuilding is not cool. It's all about men's physique, and now it's about like I see it going trends all the time. Do you know what I mean? And now like more young lads are saying, "Jase, I want to do bodybuilding, not physique," and stuff like that. And
I mean, Sam Sulek doing classic, and then eventually
everyone's going to want to do classic.
Do classic and stuff. But then when he gets too big for that and starts doing open, everyone's going to.
And that's it. Like, if you're following the guys with 5 million views, like they're having such an influence on the market. And I think, you know what I mean? At one year, it was like everyone wanted to look like Andre Dayu and stuff like. It's just I always say like the industry goes where the big between Sam Sulek and Sebum, they're pushing bodybuilding and classic. Do you know what I mean?
The amount of people getting involved in the sport is just increasing a lot as well.
Yeah, and it's just like the big
genetic outliers, doesn't it? You see what was a genetic outlier before is now like you see them every week.
Mate, I wouldn't like when I competed, I had good genetics and I did very well, but I wouldn't want to compete in this like I'm done. Like, well, if I was coming into this scene now, I'd be like, it's a long day, forget it. Do you know what I mean?
So is this never seeing Jase back on a bodybuilding stage?
Done. Yeah, I'm retired. Yeah, I'm retired.
What made you make that decision?
I think just a few niggles. I had like a little slip disc, and then obviously I did classic and supers. I had a bit of atrophy in my right quad, and I'm very aware. Like I'm like, by the time that atrophy recovers, it's 2.5 years, and it's only repairing. I'm like,
yeah.
Not gonna like I respectfully I say to a lot of bodybuilders like leave the bodybuilding before it leaves you. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is a lot of guys, man, they're fucking like war veterans and they're just BPP, T500.
Everything's ripped, everything's torn. Wonky, the waist's huge, the legs.
Yeah. Obviously, when I was competing, I've used a lot of anabolics as well. Like I know there's only. Like I said this to someone the other day, they really wanted to push and they're on an extensive cycle, you know, upwards of 1.5 grams. And I just turned around and I just said, you can use everything in the world, but you know what, in life, sometimes you just got to give things time. And that's it. I knew when I had my niggles and my atrophy, like my leg was a tear in front of my eyes. I was like, this is going to take 2-3 years. So by the time I'm young, I'm still young, but by the time I like the effort to get that back, I was like, oh, it's really not worth it for me.
Yeah, I suppose as coaching has picked up as well, you probably had to take a bit of a backseat on some of your own.
Yeah. Like I've not like I last competed 2022 Ireland. I won the show in classic. I conferred in supers, but that was like I did that show and I had someone turn pro in the same show. So it's sort of like
nuts. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah, it's sort of like you get to a point. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that and that was well, but could I have been better if I didn't have the focus elsewhere?
Yeah,
but I couldn't do my traditional lay backstage, headphones on, not speak to anyone.
Yeah.
I had 3 athletes in the show, so I enjoyed it thoroughly. But then you just get to a point where you're like, prep requires a lot of time, and coaching requires a lot of time, and family life requires a lot of time. I just don't have the time to do both. Like I'm in shape now. I'm always in shape. I'm always not got back to elite shape because the energy tank, I just can't. I haven't got the same energy tank or drive for physique development what I once had. Do you know what I mean? And I'm always honest with that. Like even if I do a harsh diet now, I probably got about 8 weeks in me, and I'm like, you know what I mean? I've just not got that same drive as when I was young. It was just like there was less responsibilities just in life.
So what are the goals now going forward? Like physique, fitness. What do you want to do, or just chill?
I've actually not used PEDs for about a year now, so
wow.
I'm in good shape, genetic.
Yeah.
I'm still like this morning I was about 108 kilos with abs, but so
and for retired, is it?
Yeah, like Tom knows when I used PEDs, I was 132 kilos, 130 kilos. So obviously I made a decision. I was like, well, if I'm not competing, I don't want to walk around at 120 plus because I just felt.
My point is that you.
And then obviously I came off everything and I was like, you know, I've got a missus. We're going to try for kids in the future. Let's just stay off. So for physique, obviously it's just staying at a good level, staying in elite shape for what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? Whether that's always, I do cardio every day. I follow my meals every day. I've actually got no carbs left for the day and it's 12 o'clock. So I'm always like, I'll do it to a level that I feel good in myself and I'm never too far. Like if I start dieting and I feel like it's affecting things I like, I'm like, no, that's enough for now. But no, physique development, the goals are to just, I still train with a lot of my clients and bodybuilders. Like I go in, I train with pros. So it's like, fuck, we've got to hang with the boys. And that's that. Some lifts I spank them, some lifts I don't. But I've always said to myself, like, just hang with the boys, enjoy trading and look after yourself, if that makes sense. So that's the physique goal. And it's, you know, I'm still strong in some areas. Like I still press 70 dumbbells for 10. I'm like, I don't need any more than that.
No. The test levels checked out. Did you find out what?
Yeah, I restored. I did like I think I'm naturally at like 17 or 18. I've got another test tomorrow because I feel a bit tired this week, and I'm like, it don't feel right. But yeah, like fully came off, and obviously the psychological of that after I competed 7 years straight, and then obviously the hardest thing is psychologically is prepping clients that now all your clients look fucking good, and you're like, I could look like that. Do you know what I mean? But it's a psychological part of it. But like where I've been off so long now, and my weight doesn't want to go under 108, I'm like, I just don't want to use TRT or go on cycle because I don't want to be heavy. Do you know?
Have you noticed any kind of negatives with coming off of cycle, and how has it affected you on like a day to day? Do you feel better like cognitively or
you know what? I'm quite Teflon. I'm quite headstrong. Like when I came off and I saw like articles of people on the, I was like, is this what you lot are moaning about? But I think I'm just so headstrong because I'm like, I come off and I was still 108 kilos pressing 70s. I'm like, oh, this ain't too bad. You know what I mean? I always look at the positive, but
sad like that, to be honest.
Yeah, like the mental, I wouldn't say there's been a dip. If anything, I just feel a bit fresher because when I was pushing anabolics, You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? If anything, I feel fresh. Remember,
Your last one you did when you got big and heavy was major impressive. Yeah.
I was about 128 with abs. I was doing upwards of 2.5 grams, and you got to remember when I was doing upwards of 2.5 grams. Now people doing 2.5 grams is normal, and everyone does it. But back then, not many people were. Like the safer use model was don't go above 1,000. I was like, all in. Don't think to come from that to what I feel good. But and I say this to people all the time. The biggest lesson I've learned is like when I'm dieting natural lads or lads that are on a TRT, and my biggest pet peeve is when people on TRT and they feel like, oh, I think I'm losing muscle. I'm like, man, I've been trying to lose muscle for about a year now, and it's really hard. And I always say, Carly Thornton, when she was massive, but she still got good level of muscle. Like the biggest thing it taught me that losing muscle isn't easy, and it's all in your head.
Yeah. I think I've been on TRT now for, oh God, fucking, ages to be fair. And I'm still sitting at like, I'm not in great composition. I'm nowhere near lean by any stretch, but I'm still big.
Yeah, you're still big. Like losing tissue's hard. So it just taught me that, all right, you haven't lost as much as you think. And yeah, psychologically, it weren't an issue. It was just like, sometimes I'd be like, man, I could have got ready in like 8 weeks if I wanted to do prep. I'm like, now it might take 14, 15 and a few niggles along the way. But apart from that, like, it's good learning curve because I've actually got a few older lads that are done competing now and they don't know what to do next.
Yeah, I suppose that gives you the experience on how you can talk to clients and help smooth that journey of like, bodybuilding and coming off of gear. Because, you see a lot of old bodybuilders that are still pushing stupid cycles at stupid ages, and you've got to be able to tell them at some point. You don't.
Yeah, you 100%. You've got to be able to tell them, and I think
that's one of the conversations that I've had to have. Well, I've had to start kind of touch on the subject of it. Like, if we go a couple more times for these Masters shows, middle of the year, this new one, there's something in China or some shit, and then there's one at the end of the year in Italy. Obviously, the Masters Pro calls. Once we kind of go there. Well, at what point do you just step back and kind of go,
and step back and
maybe there's no real need. Like maybe PCA would be more fun, do their Masters, try and win their British. You don't need to take 4.5 grams of shit. You just need to be on 1,000. You don't need to really be on anything other than TRT around. You've got all the muscle in the world going in.
Yeah.
Maybe just live at that sort of like happy medium rather than like,
well, I think that's just the mindset of a bodybuilder. You're always chasing more. You always,
you
know what I mean.
You just something it down,
and that's natural. That's natural. Assisted. You're always chasing your intra progress, and I think it can cripple you. Do you know what I mean? Because I know you as well, Tom. A few times, like we're in group chats, like we've been like, "Oh, let's bring it back," because you want that progress. But then you're like, "Oh, hey, it's really a ball ache to bring it back."
I think for me to come back to competing, full scale competing, there would need to be a really, really good reason for me to want to do it. At the moment, the only reason in my head is now I'm not too happy with my last showing. But ultimately, I think even if I stepped on stage again and I brought something really good and say I got like, so did PCA British, right? Like third in the novice class.
You still wouldn't be happy.
be like, motherfucker, I can win it next year. Like,
yeah, it's all you've got to move. So like, I think you've got to just learn to be like, let me just hang it up when I can.
I think that's kind of where my head is at now. And every time I think, I really miss, like maybe I could just, and then you just,
Like I miss it when I see some of the boys in prep that I prep. I'm like, I do miss this. Do you know what I mean?
Have you got any exciting people?
They've thought of going without anything decent to eat for about 6 weeks at the end.
Oh, mate.
And like,
Some loves the sushi as well. So.
yeah, I can't diet on sushi, unfortunately.
Like it's as you get older as well, and Tom's got kids, like you start to look at like, or can't go out with little man for a meal because, do you know what I mean? And there's memories that I always say that people won't get back.
Yeah. Like last night, I made pasta and meatballs with some tomato sauce with my little boy, and I was there cooking it, and he was like, "I'll stir it, Daddy," and he's like holding the pan. You miss out on little things like that, and I think, it's not wrong. That isn't everything. That's there's other things that you can do with your children, but they can have you flip the chicken for all that it matters, right? Or we put your salmon in.
Yeah.
But me, it was more a case of like, when I look at something like that, I can still poach very, very well to a very high level.
Yeah.
I've got 5, 6 pros going this year. I can still do that with him and then still have this time.
Yeah, still have both. Isn't you just sort of live your journey through your pros.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's kind of important.
Chuck Eagles has been talked about non-stop at the moment. Sorry. It's going to look incredible. You've got a year going again, which is going to be mega.
You're going to travel with them to the show, so it is your journeys. You know what I mean? So no, it's
How much this year are you going?
I was doing my calendar this morning. I think we're in Miami and New York Pro this year.
New York? Yeah.
We'll have a catch up in New York.
Yeah, I got Sarah going. Sarah's to New York.
Yeah, obviously winter got the Olympia. Last year we took it off. We felt it was best. Yeah. So we are
burnt out, wasn't she? Yeah, it's like
you got to remember, like people forget, like she was an amateur. She did an amateur show. She turned pro. She did a pro show, one pro show, did Olympia, then got back on prep. It was just like
that's a lot.
But she's massive, mate.
Any ones to watch this year? Who should we be looking out for? What
ones to watch is, you know what? As crazy as it sounds, the ones I've got to watch are me wanting to get them in the top 5 and top 3 in the pro mix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be. Obviously, winter, we got to get her back to the O, and we've kind of both said, like, obviously, even if you get to the O via the UK, there's always going to be a talk the UK was a more diluted show or whatever. So we've said we're going straight in at the jugular in America because, as you know, like now, Darwin, if you get a top 3 against Olympians, your name's everywhere. So we're actually going in, I think, Pittsburgh, New York, and Miami. And it's like, if they don't play out, then we go and look at Europe, and because we all know Europe shows are easier. Do you know what I mean? Most of the Olympians are America. They don't leave America. Do you know what I mean? So we're going straight in at the jugular there. We've got Gerard, Mankind, IFBB Pro, which
I think like with Sarah, her first ever pro show, she got second in a class of 20.
Exactly, and there was Olympians there. Because I was there. No, I weren't there. I was at Spain with.
No, I can't think so. Then she did Texas, then she did Alicante, I think, and then that was a 4th and then a 3rd. So she's got 2nd, 3rd, and 4th as her pro placings.
But she didn't tough throw, so everyone knows her name.
Every single one is over 20 girls.
It's wild.
So we've said,
so she's doing New York. She's got something else. I can't remember which one it is. Toronto. And then she's got Alicante planned as well. I think that's our 3.
Yeah, so like we could strip to Europe or we could go. So we said, let's go straight in. Mankind, IFBB Pro. I think he walks straight into a top 3 in any show, in my opinion, non-biased. He's got so much muscle tissue, like for a men's physique guy. And then there's obviously the new pros, which are going at the back end of the year. So and then obviously we've got Chelsea. He still needs a bit more size on the quads, but side shots are freaky. So it's more like, it's cool because we're just retaining our current prop and just taking that next step. Like, 1, 2, 3. There's 4 pro debuts. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite nice.
That's very cool.
In amateurs, obviously, respectfully, we've got Gomez, but obviously I'm a very straight guy. If Gomez makes it, he's one to watch. Again, we're still 8 weeks out, and I say it how it is. He didn't make it previous year, so if he makes it, he's one to watch. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I've said this before, and this is all the respect to the lads because I like him, he's a nice dude. But I think that Gomez's worst enemy is always going to be his own head game.
Yeah.
It's never going to be if he turns up inside out to front, and he suffers like just grits his teeth and just goes for it at the end and doesn't start worrying about food or anything like that at the end.
People are scared to be too small and too flat, and you just
with losing 5 pounds of muscle but being skinned to oblivion.
Yeah, it's gonna help.
Still beats most people, doesn't it?
Most people. Yeah, there isn't really many that beat it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got a few freaky and that. I've got like 2 natty guys I think can steal a natty card this year. Yeah.
Are you going to be aiming for the kind of natural IFBB, or are you going to be taking it via different federations for the natty?
I think this client can get them in either.
Any of them. But
I don't know if you could. I don't know if you can screen. If I can, I screen share? Would that come up?
Yeah, go for it. Go.
Right.
Bro, Dan, this dude is just.
Yeah, honestly, because natties is kind of up my street quite a lot. I coach quite a lot of natties as well as the assisted.
Yeah, like he's like
what the? That's natty.
Like mad, but yeah. So you
could put him literally any class.
I've actually got him up here. You'll see.
Is he doing bodybuilding?
No, he'll actually do bodybuilding and physique because he can get away
because he's that good.
Look, that's him at off season,
mate. That is stupid.
Do you know what I mean? So when you got that, I'm like, fucking hell. That he's got condition in the legs. He's about 20 out, and we're just trying to push food, but he's a genuine natty. He obviously gets called out all the time and stuff.
Yeah, that's all the.
It's also, do you know? Sorry, I will be quite honest. Do you know why he is natty? Because the best way to tell a natty is their back shots are not as dense.
Yeah, traps and shoulders.
Traps, shoulders, lower back. Like this is his weak spot, and he's going to get annoyed if I expose it. But do you know what I mean? Like, when people say like, is someone natty or not, I always say be their back shot because that's going to
So to be honest, a lot of people they don't go to enough of the natural shows to understand what top.
Man, there are some freaks, man. There's some Nathan Williams and stuff like that. Like these are guys like I trained with him this week. He put on a hoodie, mate. You wouldn't think he's got tissue.
Yeah.
I mean, you take off your hoodie and it's like so. Yeah, he's one going in. I can't really say because he doesn't want people to know. But yeah, he competed 10 years ago. So he's been in the people like he's natty. I'm like, mate, the geezer have been competing. Like he competed 10 years ago and he's had a 10-year break. Like not just World Cup yesterday and started training. Looks freaky. He's been training about 14 years. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's an opportunity for maybe. I'm always honest. Like I'm not going to say we're going to get 10 cards. I think as the client roster stands now, I would be happy with 2 to 3 cards this year because not every year, mate, you're going to go out and get 5 and 6. Right?
Last year was a great year.
I think I've got 4 that I can do, potentially 5.
Yeah, but then also you don't know who comes halfway through the season.
I think I know Talabi can get through the stuff that later.
Yeah,
Talabi can do his stuff done dusted really. As long as he gets people to the boat. I think Sean can. There's a couple of others towards the end of the year. I won't say who because they're kind of keeping it quiet. But
yeah, that's what it's like. The boys are like, they don't want to say, and I respect it. They don't want to put too much pressure on themselves.
That's fine, and I think that's.
I think it's important because I've seen pressure can definitely crush athletes sometimes. I have seen people that have put too much expectation.
I feel like with Gomez now, there's a lot of pressure, and we actually had this chat yesterday, and obviously beyond the stage, they're amazing, and they shout me out quite a lot, but. Obviously, they shouted out 2 incredible athletes, Martin coaches, both of them actually, and Gomez was...
they're massive black geezer.
Yeah, Gomez was like, these people don't shout me out anymore. And I'm a very honest coach, like me or hate me. And I just said, you've lost your credibility because you do a prep, stop a prep, do a prep, stop a prep. So you're not one to watch anymore.
Yeah.
So are you very
he needs to get his ass on stage.
Yeah, but again, I see that as a positive because I'm like, now there's no pressure on you, just work in the background. And
that is a good thing, isn't it? Because
on the stage is great and I love them to bits, but it can also create pressure on an athlete. And
I saw that last year with some of my guys that put too much expectation on themselves after a couple of years off and needing to improve. on placings and wanting to come back and just win it all. And sometimes it just, the peaks don't go to plan because they're so stressed and worked up about.
Yeah, like mate, the bodybuilding, like my response if a result doesn't go to clients, where I say you compete to compete, right? Because everyone in a pro lineup, Tom, they're in the pro lineup for a reason. Everyone at a pro qual.
That's the thing, man. I think a lot of we know this. I think Dan will probably have glimpses of this, but I think a lot of people listening might not get it. Pro lineups, they just don't fuck around. There isn't. You don't. If you bring your best, that's.
Everybody brings their best.
Everybody's only bringing their best. These are the 0.1% of the bodybuilding scene, not just the wild, the scene. So just us bodybuilders, they are the 0.1 of that, and you're willing to try all of that 0.1 to be in the 0.1.
Like even I had with Chelsea this morning, like she did her check-in. She's like 10 weeks after growing, and it's the form said adherence 7. I said it's not good enough. Do you know what I mean? Before you're a pro, you need to act like a pro. And when you're a pro, you need to act even more like a pro. Like when the pros are telling me their adherence is 7 in the off season, I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think that's very true because these days, even people that are competing as first timers have like 10 out of 10 adherence.
Mate, people are getting up like morning routine, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Epsom salt bar, foam rock. Like people, it's doing the extreme 1%, and that's
what happens when an industry becomes more saturated. You just see the cream really rises to the top and the cream becomes very, very, very good.
I'm picking up the pros. I'm like, what's your morning routine?
I mean, don't have one. Go out of bed.
What time's your sleep time? What time's your sleep time and stuff like that? Because, mate, I think the 1%ers do make a huge difference.
100% of the top level. I think there's a lot more that goes into it because everybody's nailing the basics.
It's hard. There's more pros every year, man. There's more pros every year. There's more UK pros every year. Like 3 years ago, to be a pro in the UK was very prestigious. Now there's tons. So
the standard is good. It's not just that there's tons of bad pros either. Like there's a lot of really good athletes.
And that's the reason why like Jack Eagles, like I've known Jack Eagles for years, but he gets a shout out across all the channels because the kid's not fucking, going to warehouse project and partying. He's not going Mexico for an all-inclusive holiday. That kid is fucking locked in. And that's the difference between how far he'll go. Like, listen, do what you want as a pro. Not everyone has to be anal. And some people can genetically get away with not being anal. But people like Jack Eagles, they're like, I've got to really take this because I've got the hype and I'm going to live up to the hype. And, I'm going to be really, really tick that 1%. And I know Tom doesn't even have to ask him.
It's not even a conversation. It's not even a, did you stick to everything this week? It's he'll drop a pound in a week or 2 pounds. And I'm like, oh, it's good. And he's like, I want to push harder. And I'm like, yes, weeks, and like, he is militant with it. In off season, don't get me wrong, there's a burger every now and then, but he never lets himself get out of shape.
It's not like, don't get me wrong, I mean, like, even if he's having a burger, he's not having the weekend off.
No, my phone.
You know what I mean?
Anytime you ever end up kind of having food that wasn't like 100%, but even him saying that it'll still be bloody good, was when he went to go film some content, which just pushes business further when he's gone away on holiday and stuff, like to like New York or whatever. But he's still on the ball. Yeah.
He's still on the ball, and I think that's the difference. Like I just sit back and I just watch guys' routines, and I'm like, fucking no, they're really, really dialed in. Do you know what I mean?
It helps that Jack's been competing for quite a long time, even though he's still young. Like
just militant with it as well. No, he's Sarah's militant with it. Shelley. Shelley from
Shelley's from my way. Yeah.
Militant with it. Doesn't miss a beat.
The difference is what people don't understand. Like I see Shelley, Tom don't see her in the gym. Mate, you can't talk to her when she's training. And that's the difference.
I've been in there with you and got 2 sentences out.
That's the difference. Like, dudes are like giving their energy. I say to people all the time, like, don't give your energy to people when you're training. Like, unless it's your training partner, like, don't. Like, I got a few pros that are coaches, and I just said to them this week, I don't want you training with your clients. I said, that's 1 hour of your energy to yourself, train by yourself or train with your partner, and that's it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how it has to get. Like, me and Tom can go and train with anyone because we can have a break. But the fine line of being a pro, mate, it's hard to accumulate tissue as it is.
Yeah, 100%. I wanted to ask about your coaching philosophies. I know that you remain kind of a student of the game. You still prioritize a lot of education and stuff. How have they changed over the years? I know there's a lot of things you probably kept similar, but there's got to be things that have changed as the industry's changed.
Blood work. I think I spent a lot with Dr. Dean. His at Christmas. I think just understanding blood work, like I can go on my computer now. I've got every single blood marker, and I've got like the supplement that helps them. So just like understanding every bit of blood work. Like I've just got a document. I just look at bloods, go through the document, and I can tell you why. But understanding that, because there was a time like when I started out, I was like, blood work, yeah, sweet, testosterone, fine, crack on. Do you know what I mean?
Cholesterol's not too bad.
Yeah, like I used to just look at like cholesterol and stuff like that, but it is good to obviously understand that. And I think I'm very straight. Like a lot of people don't talk on podcast. And my diuretic knowledge is thorough in what I like to use, and it's very easy to get caught up in the new diuretics or Boomex or this or that, and yeah, like there's so many new things I've heard of, and I'm like, just learning. Obviously, when you prep multiple physiques, you sort of learn what's too much and what's the right amount. And just my knowledge in diuretics and blood work, I think, have been the biggest thing that I've learned over the last few years. And actually getting someone into a state, like I actually think when you peak in someone, they need to be in a bit of a relaxed state. Like I think for the best peaks, you can't just go from a crash or deficit into a peak. I think it's a recipe for disaster. So just getting people ready in my timeline. So I'm always like, you need to be ready about 3-4 days out, because then we can just drop some of that stress and then start that protocol. But yeah, I think my education in terms of the diuretic usage and the blood work, obviously they go hand in hand as well. And obviously I think a big one for me is managing people's expectations. Like I'll have some guys that message me on prep. I'm like, I'm going to win this, I'm going to win that. I'm just like, just bring your best, like, because you're just, if you don't, I really don't have the answers for you why you didn't win.
Yeah. That's an interesting one in terms of diuretics, because I know that me and Tom have spoken about that before, and it's like we identified it as like somewhere where it was like that's the next step for me in terms of, you know, how I can be better. It's like, you know, I know a lot about a lot, but
first one's really good, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, when talked about on the podcast. What are your thoughts about natural diuretics versus pharmaceutical?
You know what? Not everyone needs pharmaceutical diuretics.
I agree.
A lot of my competitors have actually gone in with peak max and natural diuretics. I feel like you really have, like, not all my clients use diuretics. Like, you really have to know the physique to diuretic it, because you can diuretic a physique and it's absolutely withered away in 24 hours. And it typically, the denser muscled guys can hold a bit more. Guys that naturally hold a bit more fluid intracellular can hold a bit more. I always say to guys, play it safe with natural diuretics. Like Peak Max is amazing. H2O removed by AD is amazing.
Yeah, I use that.
I think H2O removed by AD is probably better than Peak Max, but I think
it's my favourite one to use personally.
I think Peak Max is just more available in the UK, so it's naturally people gravitate towards it. But I would say, you know, I only diuretic guys I've been with like 3 or 4 years and I know their physique. You know, I would never do it someone that's just started, but it's understanding, like, just because something's an anabolic or it's pharmaceutical, it doesn't mean it's good for you. It doesn't mean like that's the best route.
Yeah, that is better.
You know, I mean, it's not always that's the best route to get the end goal just because it's a pharmaceutical. Like me and Tom in our time, we've probably given a client a pharmaceutical anabolic and it's been like, oh, it's actually ruined the look. Like I give someone I give someone, say for example, someone's 2 weeks out, amazing shape, amazing physique. I give them Winstrol, they start bloating. We're now chasing bloating for a week, and then you look back and you're like, why did we do that?
That wasn't a good thing.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So people think like pharmaceutical always serves a good purpose, and it doesn't.
Yeah, I think you know, yeah, that's sometimes you get that, like, okay, you look really good, like good enough to win the show, but let's make
yeah, and sometimes I've been humbled a lot of times by that, and I'm there like, yeah, I don't really know what went wrong, man.
But yeah, I think it can definitely happen. I think the mistake that a lot of people make is thinking that diuretics are going to make everybody look leaner. When, you know, they only get rid of fluid, and not everybody needs getting rid of fluid.
I always weigh up, is what I'm going to do worth risking ruining the whole prep?
Yeah.
I've got to be like super confident in using them.
Yeah, I think, but at the top level, now that you're looking at like pro shows, pro cards, I suppose a lot more of that comes into play because you're looking at those extra 1%.
It's that fine margin, isn't it? Yeah, it's that fine margin. But like Braywick regional, not even a pro qual.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. But I think, yeah, the knowledge there and the knowledge of also I'm good friends with people like Tom. I could be like, I've messaged Tom, I think even last year or the year before, like, hey bro, what would you do in this city? It's just been that. But it's also been a coach to be able to digest other coaches' information, because a lot of coaches will never ask a question.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of the reasons.
My take on diuretics is probably similar to Jake's. I probably lean a little bit more to the less cautious side, I would say.
Yes.
Maybe that's because if I'm dealing with really big bodybuilders, I know.
Yeah, you're dealing with more muscular guys.
Whereas you take a men's physique guy, like a white men's physique guy with not super bubble muscle, and you pop a half moderator, it just does too much to him. You've then got to play catch up. Whereas if you overcook Nick Elliott, you go, no, it's still huge. Like,
yeah.
I
do think prepping pros at your level is the hardest thing, because naturally, even with the men's physique guys, I still think the guy who's most leanest is always favored, like in the mix. Well, open pros, I wouldn't even like. I'm like, I would, but like, it's also a very fine margin of fullness. Any pros I've helped, IFP pro bodybuilders, if I'm using diuretics, I'm loading with insulin as well, because I'm not in the look to it's always a fine. And then you're opening the door of like insulin usage as well and stuff like that. But for open bodybuilding, it's not just who's conditioned, it's like condition and full. And I think getting that balance correct of fullness and condition is probably the hardest thing that you can do in the competitive world.
Yes, that's very true. That's kind of one of the reasons that we created the podcast, was just to create more value and education for coaches that maybe don't know the right questions to ask. So it's sort of about creating
like people are scared to ask questions, which confuses me. Like in general, like there's this thing in the industry, like if a coach doesn't know a question, they would rather act like they know the answer. Well, I'm like, and just drop your ego and ask a question, because you're gonna learn quicker and it's gonna benefit you. But people want to be like, I know it all, and I'm always like, I post like, I've done a consult with Thingy, like I don't know it all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's very true. I see a lot of people, particularly young coaches, that want to be perceived to know everything.
Yeah, and the young thing is like a bravado, like it's like
we all don't know everything, and we all learn from each other, and you can only become better by asking the people that are at the top of the game at the end of the day.
And you can always have your take.
Yeah, like for example, if Tom put a client on, me and Tom sometimes watch shows closely, and he's like, the look isn't how I want, I still didn't. I would turn around to Tom and be like, what went wrong? Not because I'm bigging at Tom, but I'm just like, I want to learn what went wrong. I think the time is people don't ask, not someone walking from across the theatre, but if you're good mates with someone, like I've had Martin prep clients and I've been like, oh, what did you do to get them there? Do you know what I mean? Just be inquisitive, ask questions.
Absolutely. I think we're coming up to our hour, but go on, go ahead.
I just one last thing. So I asked you last year at the PCA Universe about Harry Langbeer and about how he changed, because he changed drastically from the show prior to the Universe. He looks like well off and then like really on. I was like, what did you do?
Oh, do you know what I did?
It was the tan. It was the tanning.
It was tanning, and it was diuretic. So you'd never taken a diuretic before. So we'd never done modulatic, and we did modulatic for the show. So we did that.
What's always you Dan, you've seen firsthand, like without it, and like I said, sometimes it can work very positively, sometimes it can work negatively.
Yeah, and the tanning thing was a big change too, because it still reacts really funny to Crotan, so we stopped using Crotan. We just literally went 0 to Dream Tan. So
which is quite cool. Yeah. But yeah, thank you very much, Jase, for coming on and giving us the time for the podcast. It's been really insightful.
No, it's been fun. It's enjoyable. It's good. It's always good to just connect with guys that are deep in the game as well, man. So it's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Sonny. We will have this up soon, obviously. So if anyone wants to find you, Jason, where do they get in contact with you?
Jase_345. Nah, just Jase_345. Easy to find. If you're a bodybuilder, redirect your way to Tom. No, but no, it's all good. And like I said, if anyone has any questions, just drop any of us a message, direct or whatnot. Don't drop us a message and say what client should I give what direct should I give my clients. But again, if you want to learn, I know we'll tell you, but there's a way to do it. For sure. All right.
Well, thanks very much. And we will see you guys in the next episode.